Hello, y'all. Welcome to Balin's Book Club. It's me, Balin. First of all, you already know, drink check. I got me, this is called, what is this called, girl? It's like summer mint. I believe it was kind of like actually so big, which is why I got it. So we have a little bit of mint, we have a little bit of orange, lemon, and we're gonna give it a taste, girl. I love me some boba. Not getting so much mint. Maybe I have to drink it more, but I'm not getting that much mint. That's okay. A lot of people don't like mint. And then I added crystal boba and grass jelly. Okay, I get the real stuff. I get the authentic shit. Okay. And yes, I am going to curse. Like, it's literally my channel. Anyways, so we left off on book two with. Oh, where did we leave off, girl? I've been reading these back and forth. I've lost track. Okay. We got to know who Roscuro was, and we got to set our eyes on the dungeon and the reality of what the dungeon is, who's there, why these people are, well, why these rats are detained to the dungeon, and we get to just, get some backstory from before Despereaux was born. Why are these tensions in the castle happening? Well, now we know, right? We know about Gregory, we know about Roscuro, we know Roscuro at this point is a bit jaded, we know Princess P has lost her mom, and oh yeah, we've got a weird girl with contraband heading to the castle. So this actually might be my favorite book in the book. Unfortunately, it's not a very happy book, and I do feel the need to put kind of a little disclaimer. Obviously, this is a children's book, so there's nothing like super graphic or super like crazy. I mean, we've already seen someone get like sold, so it's kind of like along those lines. This girl gets her fair share of whoopings in the face, whoopings in the face. It is talked about throughout the whole section of this book. It is unfortunately a huge part of her character, down to her looks, down to how she functions and how she interacts with other people. Her being abused is a big part of her character. Now, again, it's a children's book. It's not, I don't even think the word hit is used. I don't think the word punch or slap is used. It's the word clout. The people hitting her give her clouts. Okay. That is a little bit of a spoiler, but I just want to tell you guys, even if you don't want to hear about that stuff in a childlike way, you don't want to have that stuff in your children's book, I completely understand. Unfortunately, you will have to skip this video, but you can always come back for the next book because I'm pretty sure, once we get that backstory about kind of why she is the way she is, who the people are around her. It's not brought up as much in the last book. The last book is, concerned with wrapping up the story. So again, nothing graphic, but I just thought I should like put it out there. But don't run away too quick. I promise we are still going to have fun. Obviously, I love, a good upbeat yap, and that's still what this is going to be, okay? An abused girl can still yap, an abused girl can still talk to you, okay? You look at that. Ciao. So first, as always, let's get into our characters. So obviously we have Meguri So. Is it So or Sao? I am operating off of like how I pronounced all of these characters in my brain when I was a kid, and I said So. Looking back, it's probably Sao. I'm gonna call her Meguri So because that's been her name in my brain for like 20 years. So sorry. That's the reality of oral tradition. Yes, ma'am. We mess up some pronunciations. So Meguri So is an upbeat and determined girl born into a very unfortunate position, but she does not let it get to her. Okay. So again, if you're worried about kind of like the abuse stuff, she don't let it get to her, girl. She is a strong woman, a strong girl. She's not a woman at all, actually. Then we have Louise. Hate Louise, hate Louise, hate Louise. You can see in each book that all of our protagonists kind of have their own little mentor that's trying to teach them how to be correct, and they usually end up failing. So Louise is Miggery's mentor, okay? She's strict. It seems like she doesn't really like children, but on top of that, she really doesn't like Miggery. So yeah. And then we have Uncle.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So, with all of our characters in mind, let's get started, baby. So, we start off the book on chapter 24, and usually I don't like mention the chapters or the names, just because, like, I don't fully go chapter by chapter. Sometimes I rearrange things so that I can talk about them a little bit easier with you guys. But I do want to say the name of chapter 24 is A Handful of Cigarettes, a Red Tablecloth, and a Hen. And, if you weren't already getting the picture before, this is heavily implying that Miggery So, this is her book, is the girl that was sold for cigarettes, a hen, and a tablecloth, which is super not cute. Super not cute, right? And so just remember that the person that sold her is the prisoner that Rescuro is torturing slash tortured, and took the cloth from. The cloth is all he had, traded his daughter, da da da. So yeah, Miggery is the daughter. So once again, we're going back in time to when Miggery was born. So this is going to be like a couple years before Despereaux. Okay, we kind of have to go back to go forward because all of these characters are living on like different timelines. I mean, if you think about it, a mouse and a rat do not live as long as a person. So she needs to catch up a little bit. You feel me? They're already living like their entire lives within like what 3 months. Girl, she needs to grow up. She needs to be born. She's a human. Okay, so she was named Miggery Sal, whatever, after her parents' prize winning pig. And I would just like to already go off on a tangent and say, hi, why are you naming your daughter after a pig? Is your last name Sal? Or is her whole Sal? So, what is that your last name? Or is that just part of her first name? I was under the impression that was her last name. But like I said, so Sal means pig. And they like gave her that name after a pig. So I'm guessing that wasn't already your last name. So you named her pig. For what? So you might be wondering when I was introducing characters why I didn't introduce any kind of parental figure for this little girl, and we're actually about to learn why. Okay, so the first scene we get of Miggery and a parent is with her mom, and unfortunately, it is also the scene where she dies. It's the only scene in the book where we get to see the mom, and don't worry, you're going to hate her. So she's on her deathbed, dying, dying slowly. Someone comes and holds her hand. Obviously, it's her daughter. Obviously, it's her 6-year-old daughter. Someone comes, holds her hand. She's like, who is that? Who's holding my hand? Oh, oh my God. Miggery is like, Mom, it's me. Hi. And the mom goes, Child, let me go. Like, let me go. Mind you, she's dying, and this is her 6-year-old kid. Mind you. She couldn't even guess, oh, maybe that's my daughter. My daughter that I had like half a decade ago. Maybe it's my daughter. No. And then she calls her child. She says, ah, child, let me go. She doesn't even say Mig. Like, she's not even addressing her by her name. And unfortunately, that's going to be a very common theme, which plays into how Mig acts later. Even her mom on her deathbed is not calling her by her name. Then Mig says, but I don't want you to go. I want to go with you. I want you to stay here. Like, you're my mom. And then because Miggery doesn't want her mother to like die right in front of her, guess what her mom does? That's right, ridicules her. Her mom says, who's asking you what you want, baby? I I never remembered asking you what you wanted. What I find interesting but also infuriating is that as she's dying, like literally right before she got like eyes are closed, probably had the death rattle type shit going on. She squeezes Mick's hand once, twice, then dies. And I'm just like, that's like a comfort thing. You're squeezing her hand for comfort. For your comfort, because ain't no way she's comforting Miggery, because she couldn't even call her by her name, say I love you, something like what's with the moms in this book? What's with the moms in this? Despereaux's all his mom says is farewell as he's like off to die. And then this girl, she like hates her daughter or something. Anyways, imagine that's the last scene of your mom. She's ridiculing you, then she dies, tells you to get off of her, don't use your name. I'm just wondering why you had to do all that and be so rude to then, in the end, need comfort from this child because you are dying. The last thing you did was be rude to the very person that you are taking comfort from. Chat, let's move on. Let's move on. So now Meg is left alone. Oh, sorry. The At the very beginning of this chapter, it lays down that her nickname is Meg. So I very quickly have started calling her Meg because saying Miggery is a lot. It's a lot. So now Meg is left with her father, who we all know is the one who ends up selling her. So let's see how that comes about. I know I did just say let's see how that comes about, but actually there's like no foreplay. There's no foreplay. Her mom dies, and then her dad sells her. I want you to see. Okay, this line is where her mom dies. This line is where he's saying you belong to that man now. Mom died. You belong to that man now. Okay. Um, just going in raw. Like literally, it says I'm just gonna read straight from the book, child. It says she squeezed Meg's hand once, twice, and then she died, leaving Meg alone with her father. who, on a market day in spring, soon after his wife's death, sold his daughter into service for a handful of cigarettes, a red tablecloth, and a hen. Just straight into it. Straight, the first day at the market, he was ready to get rid of her. So her father makes the transaction at this marketplace, and he already is like walking away with a cigarette in his mouth. And let's just look at, you know, the vibe here. Okay, we see that whatever he sold this girl for is not going to last long because he's still within earshot of her and already consuming one of the cigarettes. He is literally still within earshot of his 6 year old daughter that he just sold for like 7 cigarettes, a piece of cloth, and a hen. And he's already got one of the cigarettes in his mouth. Okay, those cigarettes gonna last him about 2 days. And he sold his entire daughter for them. Okay. She says, Papa, like, hello? He says, go on, Mig. You belong to that man now. Now, he does call her Mig, at least, but again, her full name, non existent. Non existent. She says, but I don't want to. I want to go with you. Now, again, guess what he says? Guess. Who's asking you what you want? Who is asking you what you want? I even underlined it, baby. Like, maybe don't have a kid if you're not gonna give them some of their wants, because you're not even giving her needs. Um, who's asking you what you want? I think someone should. I think someone should. So it says that Meg watches her father walk away and he has the tablecloth on his shoulders, almost kind of like a cape. And you have to think in this moment, he's probably thinking he's Superman, right? He's like, damn, I just got a hen that's free eggs, free food. I got me some drugs, and I got rid of that ugly little girl. Okay. And in his mind, in his messed up little druggy mind, we already addressed in the last video that I am like 98% sure that the cigarettes are a metaphor for some kind of hard drug because no one just sells their daughter for cigarettes. You know what I mean? So this guy's already like out of his mind. Okay, his daughter's like 20 feet away from him. He don't care. He's billowing off in the wind. He thinks he's Superman. Okay, and she's looking at the back of him like, my father just left. And again, keep in mind, there hasn't been an I love you, I'm gonna miss you, I'll see you again, I'm sorry I have to do this. No, nothing. But this is the same guy that said, oh, I regret. You don't regret, baby. You wish you would have gotten more cigarettes. But enough on her parents. They don't deserve screen time. Okay, let's just keep in mind that we have seen this 6 year old girl lose everything in a matter of 1, 2, 3 pages. 3 pages, she's lost both of her parents, her home, her stability. She obviously ain't got no money. We don't even know if this girl has clothes. I mean, it's not like her dad dropped her off with some clothes to this guy. He don't care. He don't care. He probably maybe sold her clothes or something. So she literally has nothing and is sold to this random dude who we get to call Uncle. Everyone clap for Uncle. Yes, he insists that Miggery calls him Uncle, even though she is not in any way related to him, and he bought her. Okay, so he's a weirdo. Now we get to the sad part. Uncle unfortunately beats the fuck out of Miggery. So literally, whenever he can, whenever he wants to, as soon as she speaks, she's getting hit in her ears. Now, if you'll remember previously, she was described as having two like big pieces of cauliflower on the side of her ears. I thought she was born like that. I thought she was born like that when I read that. No, her ears look like that because she's getting hit in them so much that they've just like puffed up and become nasty and gnarled. In fact, he hits her on the ears so much that by the age of 6, this girl is probably like 90% deaf. She mostly cannot hear because of the unnecessary abuse at the hand of Uncle. The book depicts this kind of circle of abuse that we're going to go through. So Miggery already cannot hear well because of, being hit in the ear. And let's just keep in mind, okay, she's a 6 year old and she's still learning how to communicate what words even are, what they mean. You don't know that many words at 6 years old. You don't know how to talk to people that well at 6 years old. You're still mispronouncing things. and you're just still learning how to talk. She's learning how to talk. She's learning how to listen, but she cannot hear. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So the cycle of abuse, it starts with her not being able to hear, and then she does things wrong that she's told because she can't hear the instructions. Well, when she does things wrong, then uncle comes and hits her again. Her hearing gets even worse, and then he gives her instructions that she can't quite understand. She does things wrong, and then he hits her again. And it's just this cycle, this spiral of her hearing slowly getting worse and worse and worse, and him just finding really any excuse to hit her. Because I cannot believe that he's telling her to do anything different, out of the ordinary, or weird. I truly believe that he's just hitting her. I don't even think she's doing anything wrong. I'm sure she can take care of the sheep, cook his food, and clean the kettle because that's all she can do. Right? That's all she's allowed to do. And keep in mind, soup hasn't been outlawed yet, so she's probably just boiling some shit on the stove. I highly severely doubt that she's doing things wrong on a daily basis. You know what I mean? He just wants to hit her. Uncle is just an evil, evil man who wants power. Okay, this is obviously some really poor dude. I think he's like on some kind of pig farm or something. He's a poor farmer. He wants to have authority over someone and he don't have a wife or kid. So he bought this little girl for and here's maybe why I think he wants her to call him uncle is because he don't want her to call him dad because he's not a dad, but it's still a title of like power, a title of like, oh, I am your elder, like I am uncle, you will listen to me. We see more evidence of him just being an evil and awful person on Meg's birthday. Yay, she's turning 7. So I also want to keep in mind, I don't think she knows the word birthday. um she's learning words, right? If no one has said happy birthday to you, you're not going to know the word birthday. Obviously, her parents don't give a flying fuck about her. Well, didn't give a flying fuck about her. They're not in the picture now. So instead of saying, oh, today's my birthday, she goes and tells Uncle, today I am 7. Today I am 7. That's like all she says to announce that it's her birthday. I genuinely don't think she knows the word birthday, and I don't think anyone has ever said happy birthday to you to her. Jeez, let me stop stuttering. Um, Maybe her mom was like, "Today you're 4. Today you're 5. Today." They did like nothing else. I just really feel like those are the vibes. Otherwise, she would have said, "It's my birthday today." Unfortunately, she's talking to someone who hates her and only bought her as a slave, and he says, did I ask? Did I ask how old you were today?
Who?
Obviously, then he clouds her in the ear for bothering him and tells her to go tend to the pigs as she's supposed to do because it doesn't matter to him whether or not it's her birthday. So as she's outside tending the pigs, she sees this light coming across the horizon. Okay, let me stare into my little light right here. So bright. Ow. She stares into this light coming towards her on the horizon. It's blinding. It's getting closer. She should be closing her eyes. And this is where we see her have the same disposition as our other protagonists, Despereaux and Rescuro. She should be shielding her eyes to this light, but instead, she's looking directly into it and she says, gore. Let's get into what gore is. Now, as I explained before, gore is GOR, not GORE. Now that I've learned the extent to which she is hard of hearing, I truly believe she's trying to say God, but because her hearing is so bad, the book literally says that the ends of words get blurry, the ends of words get fuzzy. Well, God, duh, the duh is at the end of the word, right? So that would be the syllable, not syllable, the sound that's like a little bit fuzzy to her. She uses the word gore as an exclamation, like you would using the word God, being like, oh my God, or God damn, something like that. She says gore. So I really think she thinks she's saying God, or she thinks she's saying gore. She thinks other people are saying gore too. Um, this is totally just like from my brain, and as far as I've read, there is no evidence that that is like the truth, but that's just my hypothesis that she's hearing God wrong because she can't hear, and so now her exclamation is gore. So, what is this light that Megariso is looking at? Well, it's none other than the Queen, the King, and Princess P. Now, keep in mind, I said the Queen, okay, she's not dead yet. We are in the past. So, They're coming up on their royal horses. I'm sure there's like knights in shining armor reflecting off. Okay, will I be able to find the page? The horses are like super white. So the sun is just reflecting off of everything that's in there. And she's just standing there like, oh my gosh, cute little peasant girl looking at these cute little horses. And what P does, as we can only assume she is trained to do, upon coming into close proximity with this girl, she waves at her, as princesses are taught to do. Now, Miggery, since she has never seen anything like this, she's never seen people like this, she's never seen light this bright, she's probably never even seen smiling people, let's be real. I mean, everyone has been so mean to her. She's just standing there, mouth agape. Okay. And Princess P thinks this is weird. She doesn't think it's rude, which Princess P is a very sweet girl, except when it comes to rats. She doesn't think Migoriso is rude, but she does think it's weird. Now, she says to the king, hey, that girl didn't wave back at me when we like passed her. That girl didn't wave at me. Like, why would she do that? Why wouldn't she wave? And her father goes, well, it doesn't matter. She's just some slave girl. Pretty much. Pretty much he's just like it makes no difference, babe. Who cares? She's just some girl. But to P, whether you're a tiny little mouse, a little slave girl on the side of the road, the King Philip, you're just a person to her. And as far as she knows, people wave at the princess when the princess waves at them. So just like Despereaux and Broscuro and even Mig are kind of different from their families, both in their nature and how they look, we can see that this applies to P as well, though I wouldn't really call her the protagonist because when we get to the Rats Girl, in some ways she's an antagonist. But she is very instrumental in the furthering of this story, right? And just like our protagonist, she's a little bit different from her family too, because she views most everyone as being on the same playing field, and she truly doesn't understand why her father wouldn't be at least a little bit bothered that someone who's supposed to be a person is not showing them, I want to say adoration, but it's just like that makes her sound entitled when she's simply just wondering why what she's been taught is not manifesting in the real world as it should be. As they're on their way, okay, now at this point they're moving away from Miggery. She finally kind of gets the courage and like scoops herself up and she's like, wait, that was the princess. She actually does wave back. Okay, and this part actually makes me really sad. She says, today I am 7. Today I am 7! She yells out to them. Now, I truly believe if the Princess P had heard this, because of the nature of who she is, because she genuinely just sees her as a person, she probably would have yelled back happy birthday if she had only heard her. Unfortunately, Mig waited too long and she couldn't hear probably over all of the like horses' hooves and shit like that, all of the armor clinking. She just didn't hear her. They were too far away. And I'm just like, someone probably would have told her happy birthday that day if she said it like a minute earlier. You know what I mean? She would have learned the word birthday. She would have had someone be nice to her for the first time, probably in her entire life. But literally, just the timing was wrong, and P was out of earshot. That night, and I just want another little tangent. Mig and Uncle sleep in the same room. The whole house is one room, basically. It's kind of just a shack. The house is kind of just a shack. So they're falling asleep, and I can only assume that Mig is sleeping on the floor, and I would assume Uncle has like a blanket or something. That's not like laid down in the scene, but I'm just saying like if we're building the scene in our head, that's what I'm thinking about. So they're falling asleep, and Mig tells Uncle, I saw a beautiful, pretty princess. I wish I could be a princess. Now, I think the use of the word wish is very purposeful, and I would like to talk about it. You know, wishing for something and wanting something, they might seem the same when you're looking at it as kind of a like first world problems type thing. Like, I can tell people, I wish I had a boba today. I wish I had a boba. That's not a wish. I want a boba today. I want a boba today. No one cares about what she wants. She goes for wishes because wishing to be a princess, it's like impossible. It's a dream. It would have to be a miracle for that to happen. She doesn't want to be a princess. She wishes she was a princess. It's something much more powerful than just a want, and I truly believe that's why they use the word wish instead of the word want. It's more intense. So keep that in mind as I go on to my next little rambling. Guess what Uncle says to her? No one can say anything nice to this girl. He basically says, well, I wish I had my things instead of you. That's what I wish for. And again, it is on the same level. It's virtually impossible for those cigarettes are already smoked. Those cigarettes are gone. That hen may be sold off again, and he has no idea what the tablecloth is. He probably has no idea like who her dad is to go get that stuff back. It's something that would take a miracle for him to get that stuff back, right? You're asking for a miracle of a better life. He's asking for a miracle of, damn, I wish you weren't here. On her birthday. He then goes on to make fun of her, and he puts an empty kettle on his head, and he dances around, and he's like, I'm a king, like I always wanted to be. I'm a king because I want to be one. It's giving transphobe. It's giving transphobe. Like, it's really just echoing the rhetoric of the people that are like, oh, now I'm a girl because I want to be one because I put on a dress. Like, bro, I don't know many men that put on a dress to prove that they're not a girl, but whatever. We're not going to get into that right now because that would double the length of this video. But, anyways, he starts making fun of her. Oh, I'm a king because I want to be one. Oh, look at me, I'm a king. Like, bro, she's 7 years old. Most 7-year-old girls dream of being a princess at some point. I know I really wanted to be Princess Jasmine. Shit, I wanted to be Belle. I was like, please give me access to that library girl and that man. And that before he became a redhead. Okay. But he's treating her like she's saying something like so taboo and like she's actually gonna believe it and do it. Now, since this is a kid's book, probably she does actually believe it and do it. But I'm saying if you're operating from the mind of a fully grown adult, a 7-year-old saying that they want to be a princess should not trigger you, right? He then says, and everyone just has to remind her of this 24/7 all the time. He says, and whoever asked you what you wanted in this world, girl? It literally says girl. Like, I didn't add the girl. It says girl in the book. Like, okay, sass. Okay, sass. But also what? But also what? Like, she's not praying to God, being like, God, please make me a princess. Like, even then, it would be so rude to ridicule her, but like, I guess. But literally, she's just like, oh, I wish I was a princess. And you're like,
Who the fuck asked you what you fucking wanted, you stupid fucking bitch?
like, oh. A couple years go by after that, and the queen ends up dying. We all know why. So now soup is outlawed. Okay, so the royal soldiers come back throughout the town of all the poor people to tell them soup is outlawed and confiscate anything that can make soup. Now, I don't like Uncle, but he kind of eats here because what are you talking about? These are all super poor people. They're not going to be able to buy a whole new set of kitchen utensils and like pots and pans and groceries. They're taking the pots, the pans, the spoons, like anything related to soup. Soup is a universal food. You can eat soup with your hands if you wanted to. You can eat soup off a plate, off a bowl. You can make it in a Jesus in a pot, in a like deep pan. You can do whatever you want with soup. Anything can be tied to soup. You can take away blenders for soup. You can take away strainers for soup. Okay, like what can you not take away for soup? That's meat. That's maybe not eggs. Maybe you're not. There's egg drop soup. No, there's egg drop soup. Like again, I know I already addressed this in a previous video, but soup is what poor people eat because you can put anything into soup, and as long as they like kind of could possibly go together, it will taste absolutely fine. You're taking everything from them. You're taking their entire kitchen. I dare y'all to try and name one food or utensil that you cannot in any circumstance use for soup. Like maybe yeast. That's my thing. Maybe you can't use yeast. But then again, you're using the yeast to make bread, and bread is for soup, so I feel like they would be taking your yeast because they'd be like, oh, soup bread. Like, we all know that's what you're making, you know? Now I need to think of something. Maybe like, no, there's fish soup. Is there snail soup? Well, who has snails? These peasants don't have snails. And if they do, they're like outside. They're not like eating snails. I'm thinking too hard about this. Anyways, so the soldier comes up to Uncle's door to confiscate all of his stuff, basically. And Uncle says, what will we eat? Babe, what are we gonna eat? Now we get a little cheeky here, and the soldier says, cake. Let them eat cake. Okay, Miss Antoinette. Okay, Miss History. No, that's actually terrible to tell to the face of a person. It's one per. This is one thesis. It's one thing if you're the queen and you're kind of just speaking. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure it was debunked that she even said that. I'm pretty sure she literally didn't say that. But it'd be one thing if you were like the queen addressing your court, being like, "Let them eat cake," but to go up like to the face of a poor person, knock on. You can't eat soup anymore, sir. The fuck am I gonna eat? Cake. I will beat you up. Can I say the N word on YouTube? I think I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Hi, please bleep that out. Anyways, Uncle then says, and wouldn't that be lovely if we could afford to eat cake? Like, honestly, I don't like you, bro, but you're kind of spitting. You're spitting because what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, you would take away my flour and stuff for cake because you would say I'm using it to make soup anyway. So, literally, like, their only option is to buy pre bought things because we already had this conversation. But then the soldier replies, and I really like, let's get serious for a moment. I know I've taken a few rips, but let's get serious for a moment. The soldier then says, I'm just doing my job. And especially in the midst of our political climate, if you ever find yourself in the position where you're face to face with a poor person doing something objectively not cute, and you have any reason to say, well, I'm just doing my job, well, I'm just following orders, you're never in the right. Period. You're on the wrong side of history. I'm just doing my job is not an excuse for anything. Your job could tell you to kill your mom. Are you going to do it? And guess what? Some people would say yes. Well, I'm just doing my job. I never an excuse, right? Anyways, Uncle goes into his house, bitching and moaning under his breath, basically being like, oh, they're gonna take everything from me. What are they gonna take next, my little slave girl? The soldier hears him and says, excuse me? Did you just did you just say that you brought that girl over there? And Uncle's like, yeah, why do you care? Like, yeah, that's my slave. With sir, if he's like asking you about it, like maybe deny it. You know what I mean? Maybe be like, oh no, that's my daughter. I just like treat her like it's like or something. Like, I don't know, bro. Like you let's be for real. And so he says, hey, so actually that's also illegal, owning another person. So I'm gonna take your soup stuff and I'm gonna take your slave back to the castle. Um, so get her on the wagon too while you're at it. Now we might be like, yay, hooray, she's going to the castle, she's getting away from this dude, but I do want y'all to think about from her perspective is she's off in the hands of another random man again. Like this is not a good upbringing. This is not a stable upbringing, obviously, but I'm just like, yes, hopefully he's an objectively better man that's going to bring her to an objectively better environment. But at the end of the day, she's being taken to some random dude's house again. That sucks. But now we know how we get the random girl with cauliflower ears, say that 5 times fast, and contraband on the way to the castle. So while they're heading over to the castle, obviously, it's probably a couple days horse ride. She's sitting next to the soldier. She's a bubbly little 7-year-old girl who's finally being taken away from her abuser slash captor slash like trafficker. Like, okay, this is kind of actually the best day of her life. And so actually, she's not 7 anymore. I'm so sorry. This was a couple years later. I'm pretty sure she's 12. Yeah, she's 12. This is a couple years later. She's not 7. She's 12. So she's trying to make conversation with this dude. Who else has she been able to talk to up until this point except Uncle, who's just gonna hit her in the ear over anything she says. So she says to the dude, I'm excited to be going to the castle. I'm happy to be going to the castle. And again, no one can ever say anything nice to this girl. He says, well, you might as well be happy, seeing as it doesn't make a difference to anyone but you if you are or not. Okay, okay, like, where did that come from? Like, this is literally the first conversation she's tried to have with you. It, like, maybe it'd be one thing if she's been, like, talking your ear off for, like, 4 hours, and then this is what she says, and you say something snarky back. But literally, like, this is the first time she's trying to make conversation with you, and all she said is, "I'm happy to go to the castle." I'm sure you're happy to go to the castle too. It's where you like sleep and eat and shit. Like, can't you say like, "Oh, me too. Like, the journey is so pretty." Like, she's a 12-year-old girl. Why is everyone so mean? So they get to the castle, he drops her off, and Mig is just basically a slave again, but in the castle. And like it does say that her job is a servant for the castle, but I never saw anything about some moolah being handed her way. And even if it is, they're not paying her well. And maybe you could argue, okay, the payment is housing her, giving her clothes, some kind of like vocational training, and hopefully some kind of education, and they're feeding her. Like, I understand that, but like, well, I guess, indentured servant. So the lady that's kind of going to be training her, bringing her up, taking her under her wing, like we said before, is Louise, and she's very strict. She's not nice. She's very curt. Now, I will say, we don't know if that's exacerbated because of Miggery's disability, not being able to hear that well, or if she truly is just that mean. Um, I'm gonna lean towards more she's just that mean, but I'm just saying she could probably be meaner, coming off as meaner because her patience is thinning. Also, unfortunately, it does say Meg is a little bit lazy, which is something that she can control. So, but again, 12-year-old girl. On top of that, it says that Louise cops an attitude with her sometimes because she does things wrong. But I'm just like, guys, like, who was supposed to tell her, like, life skills? You took her from being a slave on a farm to being a servant in a castle. Yeah, she's probably gonna mess something up every week for like 3 years. For the first 3 years. On top of that, she can't hear. I just don't know what else you guys expected from her. And it's not even like, oh, she can like read books about princesses and royalty and kind of the vibe of the castle. She don't have books. I know damn well her parents didn't buy her no books. And uncle wasn't buying her books either. Can they even read? You know what I mean? So why are we expecting so much from a 12-year-old girl? This is why we hate Louise. Louise gets so agitated due to all these factors that she actually begins hitting Miggery in her ears, just like Uncle. Yes, if you thought that she would find respite in the castle from this abuse, nope, nope, she's still getting hit in the ears, probably like every single day. Probably. Let me fully enunciate, girl. I actually didn't remember that at all about Louise. I didn't remember Louise as a character, but as I kind of like read her name and got her vibe, I was like, okay, that makes sense that she exists. I didn't remember Meg still getting abused in the castle. Like, what is wrong with you lions? And then it's just kind of like such a miracle, thankfully, that the king is this nice person that actually loves his daughter because apparently everyone is just fine with treating people like shit. I also feel as though Louise picked her ears to take her frustration out on Meg because it would be way less likely that people would recognize that it was like her abuse that was messing up her ears. You know what I mean? Like, since they were already so messed up, I feel like she was like, well, I can hit her ears too, and you can't prove it was me. How you know she ain't come like that? Right. So, since Meg hasn't really been good at any of the jobs that Louise has given her, she's like, oh my gosh, here's one last thing that I think you can do right. She says, curtsy and give this spool of red thread to the princess. That's all I need you to do. Curtsy before you give it to her, and then come back to me. Now, tangent, I think it's funny because the Princess P does mention, like, oh my gosh, thank you for the thread. I can't seem to hold on to this thread. It's because the mice are stealing it. It's because the mice are stealing the thread to tie around mice necks, to send them to die in the dungeon. And I'm just wondering, how many spools of thread have y'all stolen? I sew. I like sewing, so I actually know how much thread these things hold, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm just wondering, I truly am wondering, how many mice have they sent to the dungeon? Because apparently it's just like common knowledge, like, oh, we eat mice, mice get brutalized here. I mean, what was his name? Botticelli. There we go. Botticelli literally had a whole thick chain of mice whiskers. How many mice are they sending into the dungeon? It seems like kind of a lot. So the scene of Miggery giving Princess P the thread, I think is actually very cute, and it humanizes Princess P, and it also humanizes Miggery because no one looks at her as a human up to this point to be so real. So she goes up to deliver the thread, and obviously during her curtsy, she messes up. And she messes up a little bit. She falls down. She sews her skirts, which are like kind of like undergarments, but it's like still a dress. You know what I mean? Just think of like, you know how they have like a slip. It's like if you fell and you're in a cute little dress and your slip showed. Okay, but it's fine because we learned that Princess P is around the same age as Miggery. They're both around 12 years old. Okay, Princess P actually laughs, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, you're actually so fine, girl. She's like, it's the thought that counts. Like, who even knows how to curtsy? Um, and she gives her the thread, and then they start talking because obviously Princess P is being very open with this girl. She's not degrading her or anything, and she asks her about her background, and then they get to bond over the fact that Miggery says, Mom's dead. Mom's died. Dead. And Princess P says, oh my gosh, like, my mom is dead too. Like, oh my gosh. I feel like every girl has that relationship at 12 years old where you come together because of your mommy issues. I'm like, yes, canon event, yes. So Miggery decides that this is the perfect time to tell P, hey, I've actually seen you before. When I was like really little, you guys went past my house and you were on like horses and stuff. And P says, I remember you, girl. I remember you, girl. And I think she could have a great memory of this girl for two reasons. I think it can be symbolic in saying, like, she's probably the one person who hasn't waved back to Princess P, and she remembered that for years to come, being like, why didn't that girl wave back at me? Was there something in my teeth? Did my hair look weird? Does she think I'm a weirdo? You know, again, she's like a little 12-year-old girl, and given P's disposition, I truly think she was just wondering, like, what was that about? And could not get this girl out of her mind. But at the same time, we also do have to realize that her appearance is very unique. Okay, she has these big cauliflower ears. Upon seeing her, you're probably like, I know you from the side of the road somewhere. But P does remember her, and she's like, "Yeah, you didn't wave back." So again, it's she's not like holding a grudge. She's like, "You're the girl that didn't wave back. Like, what was going on there?" And so Meg says, "Oh well, I actually did wave back, but like." I took too long and you didn't hear me. And then she was like, oh my gosh, Tiki, like that's so silly. And then Meg says, I actually want to be a princess just like you. And I feel like, again, us girls have also had this point in your young adult relationships, young teen relationships, preteen, that's the word, preteen relationships, where you realize that your friend wants to be you, doesn't want to be with you, wants to be you. And that can happen from ages 12 to apparently 23, girls, but we're not going to go into that. So upon hearing Miggery say, hey, I want to be a princess just like you, the book says that P says, really? And gives her a long look and says nothing else. I can only assume that that look was a look of sympathy because we've seen that P does see herself in a more humble kind of way for royalty, but we have to also remember she's grown up a little bit. She's 12 now. Her mom is dead. She has probably a lot more responsibilities than before and has to carry herself a bit differently and has to realize some things about what it is to be royalty. And I feel as though she's looking at this girl being like, you don't even know that there's no way that you could be a princess. And is she going to tell her that? No, that's cruel. She's not going to tell her that because she can also probably see in Meg's eyes she's never had anything. She's never had anything, but she's always held on to this dream of, oh, I really want to be a princess just like you. Just like you. And what a terrible position to be in on both sides. I think it's also sad because both of these girls are just obviously looking for connection and for a friend. I mean, Miggery was not supposed to have been up there that long. She's not supposed to be talking to the princess at all, I don't think. And I think the princess knows that she's not really supposed to be talking to the waitstaff. She's not supposed to be talking to the help. She's not supposed to be, friendly with them. But she wants a friend. I mean, think about it. She don't have any siblings, no sisters. I mean, who in the castle would even be around her age? Every time we see her, she's with her father. We don't see her in anyone else's castle or talking to any other princesses or princes or anything like that. So you can see that she really just wants Mig at the end of the day to be someone she can talk to be someone she can connect with. They're around the same age. Both of their moms are dead. There's so much, there's so much you can do there. And I feel like that's why she doesn't say anything, because she doesn't know what to say. If she says, "Oh, I think you can be a princess," she's lying. And she's setting this relationship up in a way that's built off of like her coddling this girl, telling her to do something she knows she's not going to be able to do, or she's going to say, "Oh, I don't really think that's possible," and then there goes the connection. This girl's probably going to hate you. No tea, no shade. Well, honestly, we know with Miggery that she would probably just let it roll off her back and be like, "Well, I want to be a princess." But P doesn't know that. You know what I mean? She's a bit more reserved. So she just has to say, "Oh, thank you. Thank you for the thread. Thank you." So I love this scene because it's sweet, but it's also foreshadowing something crazy. Like, wanting to be someone else never ends well, but especially when you're a preteen, crazy. Something's about to go down in book the fourth, okay? And I don't remember what it is. I have to be so honest with you, but it just makes me sad that both of these girls at the end of the day just want someone to look at them as what they feel. For P, it's just a regular little girl, but for Miggery, she feels like a princess. And neither of them can seem to get that. So she comes back from delivering the thread, and Louise is like, "What took you so long? What are you doing, babe? You failed the job." And I just think, like, that's so annoying. It shows that Meg is kind of seen as a failure at all of the jobs she's done. She didn't fail at delivering the thread. She just delivered the thread and then had a conversation. I mean, what were you going to tell her to do afterward? Like, go scrub the toilet? I'm sure she can wait 10 minutes to scrub a toilet. She delivered the thread. She did the curtsy. I mean, Louise didn't see that she fell during the curtsy, and Princess P sure as hell isn't going to go tell Louise, "Oh, your new servant girl showed her skirts while she was curtsying me." So it's really just like, you just don't like this girl. And I do want us to realize that unfortunately, a lot of how Meg is treated has to do with her appearance. It's a not fun reality, but it's something that I don't want to avoid in this book. You know, not everyone's appearance is discussed as heavily as Meg's is. She's discussed as a little bit round. She's got the cauliflower ears. She's just, unfortunately, not the cutest sight in the land to look at. And just like in real life, that plays into how people treat you. If you're seen as ugly or not the beauty standard or overweight, already mean people are going to be way meaner to you. You're going to be insecure. Again, she's 12. She's 12. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because she is going to get manipulated later. And I don't want anyone to think, "Oh, well, why didn't she? Why didn't she?" She's a 12-year-old girl who's not the cutest, who has been treated meanly and abused her entire life. So don't hate on this girl now. Do not hate on this girl. Louise says, "Okay, you're basically going to take the job that no one else wants to do since you can't do anything right, and you're going to go deliver the jailer in the dungeon his lunch every day." Hello? You're going to send a 12-year-old girl to go deliver a grown man's lunch in a dungeon with no other supervision. No other supervision. Now, keep in mind what's going on in the dungeon. Despereaux is in there, okay, in Gregory's hand, or at least near Gregory to some degree, and Roscuro is in there plotting on the Princess P. In mind, what's also down there that Miggery doesn't know is her father. Her father is in the dungeon, and she don't know. And child, she don't meet him this chapter. She's right next to her father, and they do not have a conversation in this book. I'm so sorry to tell you. We do not get the confrontation between the daughter and her father anytime soon, babes. Anyways, she's descending into the dungeon with a smile on her face, and Louise kind of says under her breath, "What's to become of someone who goes to the dungeon smiling?" First of all, why are you being a hater? Why are you being a hater? She's a 12-year-old girl. But it's giving like when you go to work and those like middle-aged ladies, like all they can do is talk shit about you. And it's like, okay, I know I'm 20 and I'm turned, okay, and I'm tight, but you don't have to be so rude. Now, obviously, that doesn't apply to May because she's 12, but like, that's what it was reminding me of. Just full hater for what on a child. The reason Miggery isn't too phased about going into the dungeon is unfortunate. So it says that when Uncle would hit her in the ears, sometimes he would miss and it would hit her nose. So she also can't smell that well either. So she can't smell or hear the rats. And it's dark and she only has one of those tiny little tea candles that are like, what, that big. So she can't really see either. So keep in mind, she's going into the dungeon basically blind. Blind to what's in there, blind to who knows she's there, and then just blind to the physical reality of the smells and the nastiness and the grossness. As she descends into the darkness to go find the jailer, she sings a song. I ain't the Princess P, but someday I will be the P how he. Someday I will be. And she's singing this super loud because, again, she's like 90% deaf. You know, those like cats, those white cats, you know, they're deaf because they're just extremely loud. Extremely loud. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. It says she's like bellowing out the song, okay? It's loud. So, as Miggery is getting to Gregory, Roscuro is following her, and unfortunately, she cannot hear him scurrying behind her because of her ears. So, she drops off the tray to Gregory, and Gregory eats everything, including the bones of the chicken leg. Right. And Miggery just kind of has to sit there and watch him because she has to take the tray back upstairs. So, she can't like give him the food and then just leave. She has to like literally sit there and have lunch with him, which is just kind of weird. Like, it's just kind of weird, guys. Like, I'm sure she can come back tomorrow, pick up the tray, and, like, take the dirty one upstairs. No? As he's nastily devouring this chicken leg, she actually looks at him in awe. She looks at him with respect. She's like, wow, like, you're so cool. Like, you really ate that chicken leg. Um, I just thought that was funny. I was like, okay, girl. Right. I mean, I want to give her the excuse, but I don't think I can, babe. But again, I said I would take Belle's man before he turned into an actual person, so maybe I can't really judge her. You know, 12-year-old girl. 12-year-old girl. What were you reading on Wattpad at 12 years old? I'm not going to tell you what I was reading on Wattpad. So keep in mind that there is this tiny little fire that's casting kind of a dim light somewhere while they're on this little impromptu lunch date. Okay, in the dim light of the candle, Roscuro is dancing around doing a little rat dance because he's so happy that he found this vulnerable little girl to prey on to enact his revenge on another vulnerable little girl. Like, sir, you're playing chess with two people whose moms are dead. For what? For what? Gregory kind of mutters low enough that unfortunately Miggery cannot hear, I see you, to Roscuro. Now, this is both figuratively and literally. Obviously, he sees him dancing around in the light of the candle, but keep in mind, Gregory and Roscuro have interacted before. They have talked before. Gregory low key kind of knows of Roscuro and knows he's a weirdo bitch. So he also says, I see that you are plotting on this girl. I see you. Even when this girl doesn't see you, even when you think no one else in this dungeon sees the evil shit you're doing, I, another human being, see the ratty shit you're doing. Now, what I think is interesting, and I'm kind of like, why wouldn't you tell her, is obviously Meg doesn't hear exactly what he says, but she can see that his mouth is maybe kind of moving and he's saying something. And so she goes, huh? And he says, nothing. And he doesn't tell her. I'm like, why would you not tell her, hey, there's this weirdo rat that's following you and has like evil intentions? Maybe like kick him or something. I just don't understand why you would keep that information from her. What he does say is that Meg should beware of the rats, and the book makes sure to tell us that he is the first person that tells Meg anything about the rats, which I think, like, Louise, girl, I understand you don't like Meg, but you're sending her into a dungeon full of these evil rats that are literally illegal and outlawed that y'all are saying killed the queen. and you not gonna tell her when you know she can't hear them scurrying around. You're weird. You're weird. So before Meg can fully ascend the stairs to open the door to go up to the castle, Roscuro climbs up her dress and sits right on top of her shoulder like a little parrot, which, ew, like, just the thought of a rat climbing on me, a mouse. I don't know, y'all. I could not deal. And it says that the pitch of his voice cut through her ears so that he can talk in a low register. He can talk just like this. He doesn't have to yell at her like how everyone else does because she can't hear, and she will be able to hear him. This is a dangerous combination. This is a dangerous realization that he has come to, okay? Because now he's kind of like a conscience to her. He's almost like an unreliable narrator to her because more than she can hear anyone or anything else, she can hear Rescuro. Like it's either her own thoughts or Rescuro that are going to be making the first impressions on the world around her, and he doesn't have good intentions, and he knows exactly what he wants. Okay, so he makes sure, one, he calls her Miggery. He's like, oh, your name is Miggery, right? I think I've seen you in the hallway, right? 7 out of 10. Anyway, let me stop. To this, Miggery is like, wow, a rat that knows my name. And this is why I really wanted to point out that no one has used this girl's name. I mean, Princess P asked her name, I'm fairly certain. Um, I think Uncle called her Mig, or maybe like the dad called her Mig, or the dad called her Mig. Yes, but no one has said her full name, Miggery. And so even though he's a rat, someone saying her name and she can hear them, and it's not them, yelling at her, telling her that she did something wrong or something, it makes her feel special. It makes her feel like, wow, maybe there's someone who can actually see me for who I am and not just a fuck up. After he calls her Miggery once, he immediately starts manipulating her by calling her Your Highness and the Princess P. He literally refers to her as Princess P. The level of delusion that he's leading her into is crazy. Um, he's basically telling her, yeah, you can be whatever you want to be, and I will address you as such. To me, you are the Princess Pete. To me, you are royalty. You are your highness. That's what you are. And imagine that's the voice that's basically in her head right now. Delusional. Like literally delusional, no funny shit, delusion. And he is amplifying that for her. Now, while he's playing these games, okay, in her head, telling her all the things she wants to hear, there's there's something going on. What's implied, okay, is remember that Despereaux is in Gregory's hand or somewhere on Gregory's body, even as he's eating this food, okay? So while Rescura is doing all this evil shit with this child, there might be a little mouse that's on the tray going upstairs. Mayhaps Gregory balled up his napkin, put it on the tray, and popped our little guy in there. Okay, so no one knows this, but Despereaux is on that tray listening. Okay, because remember, Despereaux has crazy good hearing. So while Roscuro is basically whispering into this little girl's ear, thinking no one else can hear him, no one else will be able to hear him, just her. I mean, that's his plan. Pretty good plan, pretty evil plan. Despereaux hears him. Despereaux will be able to hold this weirdo accountable. And I know. In the last video, I was like feeling bad for this guy, but I don't know, like you're manipulating two little girls. Two little girls you're doing weird things with. Like, just take the L. Just take the L. Okay, I'm sorry you're a rat. I'm sorry you're a rat. But this is just extra. Unfortunately, that is where our section ends with them saying, hey guys, don't worry. Despereaux is here. He's hearing everything. Someone's going to be able to hold Rescuro accountable, but to see how, you got to join me in 2 more weeks. Okay, so that ending was a little bit crazy. I was shocked reading it. I didn't realize that's how Despereaux got upstairs, and I honestly thought he was in the dungeon for longer. Maybe he goes back into the dungeon. Like, I really remember him being in the dungeon longer. I mean, maybe that's because I'm also kind of remembering the movie and I feel like they put way more emphasis on the dungeon. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. He hitched a ride. I am so glad that we have someone a little bit more unbiased to kind of cut through Riscaro's um, Bullshit. So the next book is our last book, y'all. Our last little section of the Tale of Despereaux. Let me see what it's called, y'all. I think it's called Back to the Light. Recalled to the Light. That's what it's called. Book the fourth, Recalled to the Light. So that is what we're going to be reading in 2 weeks, y'all. And then we're going to be going on to our next book, and that is the end of the first book on our channel. So I really hope that you join me for that last video. I'm super excited. Stay literate, babes. I'll see you next time.